Hi, and welcome to the Skincarma Pod. I'm Carmine, the creator and voice of the Skincarma Blog. With more than 25 years in beauty as a brand builder, copywriter, and skincare junkie, I'm putting my product wisdom and expertise to work demystifying skincare. Today on the Skincarma Pod, I'm welcoming to the podcast Stephanie DePisa, the founder of one of my favorite sun care brands, Solara Suncare. 5 years ago, I came across Solara Suncare in the beauty trade magazine Beauty Independent. The article was heralding the launch of this cool new brand with clean mineral sunscreens made for super sensitive skin. I was intrigued by the founder's compelling story and her impetus behind creating a range of facial sunscreens she could use on her own children. Why couldn't she just buy them, you ask? Well, as crazy as it sounds, her kids were having allergic reactions to the sunscreens available to her at the time, no matter where she purchased them. Nothing was working. It made no sense until she learned that most sunscreens were loaded with all kinds of chemical allergens. Clean beauty was barely on anyone's radar. So she decided to make them herself. Look, as a beauty copywriter and brand builder, I was blown away by that. It's no small task to create a brand from scratch. I've considered creating my own skincare products. I know it is not easy. It's a chore. Not only do you have to create the formulas and get them just right and get them appealing and get them to be effective, but then you've got to market them, sell them, build retail relationships. I didn't want to do any of that. It's just not even in me. So I'm a podcaster. Anyway, to put it simply, it's a monumental task to create sunscreens without the resources of big beauty. So there I was, fanboying out on the cross trainer and reading this article, being super inspired by Stephanie. And I just DM'd her on Instagram. I didn't even know if she would get it. And I introduced myself. She did get it, and we just really connected. And in fact, we've stayed in touch ever since. Solara is privately, female, and family owned, and their sunscreens have numerous awards and credentials. They're favorites of celebrities, makeup artists, dermatologists, estheticians, and your favorite skincare blogger and podcaster, yours truly. I'm obsessed with the Solara Time Traveler. Unscented, 100% mineral, peptide packed, and it makes my skin glow like crazy. It's so good. Solara has been featured in Forbes, Vogue, Allure, and more. Stephanie launched Solara at 40 with zero experience in the beauty industry. Again, no small feat. Today, the Solara brand and its new sister sub-brand, the Solara Go collection, can be found from Neiman Marcus to Whole Foods. She's a true entrepreneur. Look, I've said enough. Let's talk to Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, Carmine. It's good to talk to you today.
I'm so happy to have you on.
Likewise. We've been doing this for a while, right?
I was going to say, we met when? When did you launch Solara? What year?
So we launched at the end of 2019, right before the world closed down. So you and I had to have met before
we
COVID.
did. We met before COVID because we met in the city. Remember? We met in the city and we had lunch and I made some snide comment about La Prairie and remember? And the rich woman next to me.
Yes, I do remember because
she was like, "Excuse me? What may I just ask you what you said about that product?" And I was like, "Oops." Anyway, yeah, so I don't remember. I don't know if you even remember why we met or how we met. I had fanboyed out about the brand because I had been reading about Solara in an article in Beauty Independent.
Yes,
do you remember that article? It was right as you launched.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. She's just making her own sunscreens. That's just insane. And I knew because I've done it, not made personally, but right? In my work, I've seen the process and it's not easy.
No.
And so I want to know, what got you to that point?
Yeah. I mean, essentially a mom on a mission. That's kind of where it started,
Mm.
if I'm being really honest with you. I have 3 kids. 2 of them have adverse reactions to chemical sunscreen, and we were using some of the most popular spray sunscreens on vacation, and my son specifically was breaking out head to toe in like a terrible itchy red rash. And when that happens and you have to sit in a room for a few days, you do a lot of research, you talk to your doctors, and you figure it out. And that's what I learned that for some people with sensitive skin, the chemicals and sunscreens do build up in your body, and then the reaction can be exactly what he was experiencing. And so that's really where the idea came. This is going back a ways. So there's like chat rooms and mom blogs, and this was
Oh
like
my
the
God.
early days of that. And I really dug in to say, and I realized there are so many people that have exactly that same experience. And the only options that my dermatologist and the pediatrician were sharing were like toothpaste back then. I mean, like really
What?
like thick, heavy white zinc oxide, like from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
80s, like when we grew up with the colorful, life
Right.
screen. And that's not pleasant. And so that's really where the idea came from. And the rest is sort of history. Yeah.
The rest is
Yeah.
history. You've done quite a bit since that moment.
Yes.
Okay, so nothing was working. Matter
No.
of fact, they were working, but they were doing terrible things
Well,
to your
yeah,
kids.
that's
And
right.
so it was like, how did you describe it? It was mom on a mission. You had no
Mhm.
choice. Like if
That's
you
right.
were going to protect your kids in the sun, you had to make products yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I tried a dozen, at least maybe more of products on the market. So zinc oxide sunscreen isn't new. We didn't invent it,
Right.
but when you
Right.
look back to that time frame, the options, if you went to a Whole Foods, for example, they
Mm.
really were unpleasant, thick and heavy. And it was like wrestling my child to put it on. And that's just not pleasant or sustainable, like to continue to do that. So I really felt like there had to be a better way, and that's where the idea came from. But the truth is, I took a solid decade off to raise my kids, but prior to that I come from a big brand background, not in beauty, but
Mhm.
working with a lot of big brands, like at Procter and Gamble. And so I knew
Ah,
from
consumer products.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, from the CPG world. And I knew from that experience that you can't just bring a product to market. You can't just mix this type of product in your kitchen. And this was
No,
like
yeah.
the heyday of indie beauty and clean beauty. So people were doing that, not with sunscreen, but with all
Yeah.
kinds of other beauty products. But I knew I couldn't do that. And so through friends of friends, I just talked to so many people in the industry. I was connected to cosmetic chemists, not at P&G, but outside, that come from other major brands. And I
Mhm.
learned a lot about how the process works to create a sunscreen. And once I did all that research, I said, you know what? I think I want to give this a try. I was craving, to do something to fix the problem. I was craving to do something a little more as my kids were getting older. And that's really where we started. And I did work with a cosmetic chemist, third party, contracted with me, still consults with me on the brand to this day. Um,
Wow.
but I was never making this in my kitchen. This is a regulated product, an OTC product here in the United States. So
Yes, of course. The
yes,
FDA is involved.
there are definitely checks and balances in
Oh
this.
my god. It's crazy how regulated the sunscreen industry is. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Or we know that the sunscreens that we're using, we can basically rely on them to do what they need to do,
Yeah,
but at the same time it stifles innovation. So I think
it
this is
really
what's
is.
really interesting to me is, like, I've seen all of it, and I rarely see innovation in sunscreen, and then here you are with no experience in beauty innovating in sunscreen 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
that's really what struck me. And
Yeah.
so how did you innovate? Was it
Well,
just relying on the clean beauty piece of it? What was it?
it was. Back in that day, clean beauty was just becoming a thing.
Mhm.
Now
Yeah.
I look at things very differently in terms of how I use that terminology. Back then that was an emerging term. And the reason that our sunscreen was, when it launched, different and remains different isn't
Hmm.
just about the active ingredients, it's about all the other stuff that we're loading it with too. Because during the 2-year process that it took us, it actually was a little bit longer to create our first sunscreens, the ones that we launched with. They
Hmm.
were built from scratch. And it took a long time between formulating, then testing, and predating that, finding a lab that would work with someone like me, that
Yeah.
independent and small, not associated with one of the big drug companies or big CPG companies. It took a long time. And then once I got in the door, began formulation. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And that is really, if I'm being honest, where everything changed. It started where I just want to make a zinc sunscreen that you can rub on. That's all I wanted to do. Wasn't
Yeah.
as concerned about all the other ingredients that were involved, just needed it to be zinc oxide. But then my healing journey with Lyme disease opened my eyes to this whole world of clean beauty, where my medical professionals were encouraging me to look hard at what I was putting in my body and on my skin. And that's really where the formulations took a complete turn. We started pulling out ingredients that are really common in sunscreens and replacing them with things that are really healing and nourishing and help boost defense.
Hmm.
And that's where the innovation came at the very beginning, was just looking at it completely differently. And I think not coming from the beauty industry was almost a superpower at that time, because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't
Right.
know that how hard it would be. And once you're in
Yeah.
it, you're finishing it. You are not giving up.
Yeah.
So,
Had you known how challenging it would be, would you have done it again?
oh gosh, that's a loaded question.
I
I
mean, because I know what you've been
Yeah,
through.
it's a lot. It is a lot. And, now sunscreen is having a really big moment,
Yes. Yes.
in the last 12 months. So it's great to see that more options are on the market for all types of, people's desires, their lifestyles, their skin tones. That's always a good thing. Um, but I think the innovation sometimes stifles when you start to see that. It's a lot of same, same, same. And
Yeah.
we're still trying to do things completely differently. And from that perspective, nothing has changed. If it exists 10 times over and someone's doing it really well, there doesn't need to be another one, right? So we
Sure.
prefer to focus on things that maybe are a white space that people are craving and they haven't seen on the shelf yet. So,
So identifying white space, I mean, for you initially, white space was a sunscreen that didn't cause allergic reactions in your kids, right?
correct. Right. Meant for
Um,
sensitive skin, like
was there
specifically.
other white space?
There was a ton of white space, because the truth is there wasn't anybody doing this idea of mineral only, a line of mineral only sunscreen for sensitive skin. And that was
So
something
by that, sorry to interrupt, by
that,
that you mean 100% mineral. So
ex-
I think a lot of consumers and even people in beauty marketing don't realize that a lot of mineral sunscreens are loaded up with chemical fillers.
exactly.
And the point of that really is to enhance the texture, right? And to
Absolutely.
give it a better texture and help it blend in. So
Right.
you're talking about creating something without the chemical fillers because those chemicals were irritating the skin on your kids.
Exactly. So the main active in all of our products remains zinc oxide.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always different emulsifiers and different attributes that you can add in and add out to make them feel better, to make them spray better, all of the things that make them texturally more pleasant. But
Yeah.
specifically for me, it was the sun protection active that I was really focused on, because that is the ingredient that is more calming to my children's skin, was zinc oxide. And so we were the only brand that launched with everything in the collection completely being mineral only. So you didn't have to walk up to the shelf and wonder, is this their chemical version or their mineral version? It's very
Right.
simple. Everything we do is focused on physical blockers.
Yes.
Might that change in the future if the FDA decides to allow us filters from overseas?
Oh
Perhaps.
my God. Wouldn't that be groundbreaking?
It would be. But as far as here in the United States, the chemical filters that are available here, we stay away from them for many
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and we stand firm on that. So,
And
yeah.
so let's talk about building a brand. Like, this is the most fascinating piece for me. You had, experience in consumer products and CPG. And so what is it like to build a brand from the ground up? Like, all of it, soup to nuts. Like, you
Soup.
can't just you build a brand, you build a website, you then what? Like, I talked about this in the intro before you came on. I've been approached and considered creating Skin Karma skincare. It's trademarked in that class. I can launch Skin Karma skincare. I have that, but I don't want to do that. I
Right,
know what goes into it, and it's not me. Like,
right,
podcasting is great. This is a great extension to what I'm doing, but I don't want to be selling products. So, like,
right.
talk to me about like that whole setup and that whole process.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, it is very hard. It is very, very hard. And I think the blessing and curse of social media is that
Mm,
you can, a brand like mine, we remain 100% self-funded, woman-owned, which is a whole nother conversation. But for a brand like mine, something like social media is a great way to share your message, to connect with your audience. But it also is a place where sometimes, from a brand building standpoint, it
hmm
makes everything look easy. Um,
mm,
right? I see this so much, and I've done talks at the high school, the college level, and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to launch a brand. But the truth is, it's very, very difficult. It's one thing to create a brand and to put it in the universe. That's huge. It's
yeah,
another thing to continue to grow it week over week, month over month, year over year. That's where the hard work and the rolling up the sleeves, really comes in. And so, from my perspective, we've been slow and steady, and that's been very intentional. um we're doing the most with the resources we have, but we're also not straying from what we stand for. And I think from a brand building perspective, that's the most important thing, is
yeah.
to know who you are, know what your focus is, and to stay focused on that. And I think if you remain true to that, your people will come. And that's what we've found. We have a very, very loyal customer base. Um and that's what's kept us going year over year. We're now 5 years old. It's hard to believe that.
I know, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's been 5 years, and you have a sub brand now on, in addition to the master brand that I'm so familiar with.
We
Like, how did
do.
that come about? Like, that's really
So
unheard of.
it is. And, that we definitely had a lot of people from the industry tell us, "You're crazy. You're still such a new brand. Don't go launch a sub brand." But I really felt like in my heart there was space for it there, and I knew that we could do a good job with it. And it's turned out to be a really good decision for us. It allows us to branch out and reach even more people and solve more needs. The Go collection was never a part of the brand story. If you looked at my business plan from day one,
Right.
we launched, and like a few months later the world closed down after we did a couple of trade shows, and I met some of the most amazing buyers from amazing retail partners all over the country,
hmm
and stayed in touch with them. And it was during COVID that we were offered the opportunity to apply for the Target Accelerator program,
Oh,
which
wow.
originally I was like, "Well, that doesn't work. Our products are at a higher price point. I don't see where that would really fit on their shelf." But we were encouraged, to really give it a try. And I did. I applied, and they accepted me. And I learned so much in that process. It's like a master class in mass retail.
hmm
And through that entire process, I learned, well, my goodness, there's not only a white space where we are currently and where we wanted to be in the more prestige category, there's
Yeah.
also a big white space on the shelf at the mass level too. And so that's where the idea for the Go collection was born, was through data and looking at customer and guest needs. And I felt like we could solve that need. And,
Yeah.
and so we did launch that collection, and it's doing very well.
It's great. It's so cool, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan. I know you know this. I'm a huge fan of Time Traveler, which is
Yeah.
part of the original collection, right? One of
It's
the
an
inaugural
OG
products.
fave, an
It
OG fave.
is. It's my
Yes,
OG fave. I was
it
so
is.
blown away when you sent me that product. I was like, "What?" It's incredible, like the glow it gives you and the texture, the whole experience. And
Yes.
I worked on a brand, a sun care brand, 100% mineral sunscreen, with an MIT scientist. The brand is called Pavis.
Okay.
And when I was working on the brand and the packaging, I can't remember if it was somebody that she had partnered with, who had done consumer research, that they had they had put together a report. They had talked to consumers about their experience with sunscreen. And I know this won't be a surprise to you, but the number one reason that people give for not wearing sunscreen is they hate how it feels on their face.
Yeah.
And just the whole experience, how it looks, how it feels, and that Time Traveler, you like overcame that. Like, it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. We worked very hard on that formula, and
Yeah, I know
you're
you
right.
have.
It was the OG. It was the
Hmm.
OG. And I take a lot of my inspiration from European products.
Mm.
I'm Italian. We spend time in Italy. I'm fortunate enough that we've, visited family there. We go there, frequently. And the pharmacies over there have the most incredible skincare innovation. And I found this cream that I really loved. And there it was actually a chemical based sunscreen,
Hmm.
but it was a heavy, rich cream. And I have extremely dry skin.
Mm.
And so I wanted to kind of model it off of that without the chemical filters, of course. So that was kind of the inspiration for Time Traveler. It is a rich cream texture,
I
and
never knew this.
it's still like so delicious.
Yes, it's amazing.
And us
It's
dry
amazing.
skin folks love it. It soaks it right on up.
It's true. It's so true. It's a terrific sunscreen for the colder
Yes,
months, like the beginning of spring, all of winter, fall. It's
yeah,
so magnificent. And in that time of year, it's super dry.
right.
Your skin completely dries out and you have this sallow look. And, I always joke that in January, I used to, before I became sophisticated about my skincare, I used to wake up looking like death. And it was like, I looked like I slept in Antarctica, and it's just New York.
New York.
And then I realized, I need lipids. I
Yeah,
need to be replenishing lipids. I need much richer face creams at night.
yeah,
And I have very balanced skin. My skin isn't dry, my skin isn't oily, it's just my skin.
right.
But in the winter, it's crazy how much I need to step it up, and I can
Yeah.
handle anything. I can put on a facial oil and then a moisturizer over that, and it's good.
And it's so
So
good.
I love that was the inspiration for you, that rich cream that you found in Italy. Oh my god.
Yeah, it
No
was.
wonder I love it.
I know. It's
You
the
touched
Italian
my
thing.
yes. You touched Carmine Rosario Montalto. Oh my god, I just exposed my middle name live on a podcast for millions of oh no.
Millions of people now know everything there is to know.
Oh Lord. So I want to talk too, and I alluded to this, the broad distribution that the brand enjoys from
Yes,
Neiman Marcus to Whole Foods. I mean,
the
that's
full
like two
gamut.
ends of the spectrum, right? I
That's
mean, the
right.
only thing missing is like the pretzel cart on the corner of 49th and 5th, right? Like
We're working on that. We're
you're
working.
working on you're working on the hot dog stand, New York City hot dog stand sunscreen with your hot dog.
There you go.
Um like, what's the retail experience like? Like, are those retailers kind of the same mindset, or is retail just retail no matter where you are?
No, they're all so incredibly different. Each retail partner has its own way of working, its own metrics for success, its own needs on the shelf and how to win there. So it's definitely a challenge as a smaller brand to kind of serve all the gods, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think the good news for us is that having that broad distribution allows us to touch more people where they are in their lifestyle. So you're probably like me. Like I will go into like a Blue Mercury and buy some of my favorite skincare. But when I'm on vacation and I've run out of sunscreen, I'm going down to Whole Foods, right? And I want to pick it up right there in that moment. So for us, that was really, there was a strategic reason behind the partners that we've decided to kind of work with.
Mm-hmm.
And why, as a smaller brand, we're keeping that curated for the moment. But yeah, retail's hard. Retail is very hard. It's one thing to get in, which is absolutely amazing. We've enjoyed that. But it's another thing to stay there, and you have to maintain a certain level of sales every week, every month, every year, and continue to support all those while also building the brand and driving people to your own website. So
Right. And to continue to innovate, right?
that's exactly right.
And I
And
have to say, you have done that. You really have.
we,
And
I'm
I
pretty,
am never jealous of a brand's packaging like I am jealous of your packaging.
oh, wow. That
Like
makes that
how did she come
that's
up with that name? Where
huge.
did she get that name?
Do you wanna know? I'll tell you.
Yeah, I want to. Don't tell me ChatGPT because you've been
No,
doing this long enough.
ChatGPT,
Be
no way.
way before
That
that.
was way
Like,
before, yeah.
where does the naming inspiration come from? And share, like time traveler. We've introduced. Like, share
Yeah.
some of the other cool product names.
Yeah, well, the brand name itself actually came from my kids, and that's a very
Oh my
serious,
god.
no, it's a very serious thing, and I wish I was better. I'm not great at social media. I'm older. I'm in my mid-40s, right? I
Hmm.
launched the company when I was 40, so it's not intuitive to me. I wish it was, because the truth is, like, we've had brainstorm boards and all these things that would have been fun to bring people along our journey. But the name Solara Suncare came from my kids, actually. Like thinking of names that made you feel like the sun. And once we went through that whole exercise, and you know this because you mentioned you have your trademark, you then have to trademark it. You have to
Right.
the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And so we did, and that's the name of the brand. And then in terms of the luxe products, really have more of the kind of fun vibe type names,
Yeah.
and those
Glow getter. Right. Glow
low
getter.
one,
Yeah.
fortune teller, like, we
Fortune
try to
teller.
have
Yes.
fun with it, where like there's a little something about what the product does that's built into the name. But I love
Hmm.
the idea of the formulas are very serious. They're very, very serious, and the brand itself is a mix of serious and playful. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
the reason why we have that balance of like fun names and serious formulations. And the names have come from all over the place. They've come from people on our team, they've come from friends and family. And just yesterday, we're launching a new product later this summer. My daughter
Hmm.
came up with the name of it.
Oh wow.
You never know. And I find
Yeah.
that a lot of people I know have hired big branding agencies, or
Yeah.
we never had the budget for that, right? So we had to
Yeah.
be a little scrappy. And sometimes the creativity comes from the wildest places.
Your daughter might be a budding copywriter, by the way. When I was,
She is
how
a
old is
great
she?
writer. She is gonna be a freshman in high school. Yeah,
Okay, so I was in junior high school, and my mother, this is small town Connecticut, and
yeah.
my mother and a friend of hers, my mother was a hairdresser when I was growing up. Like, she went to beauty school, cosmetology school, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it is.
And one of her friends from cosmetology school, they decided to partner and open a beauty salon in town.
Wow.
And I don't remember why she brought me to her friend's house, but I remember sitting around the woman's kitchen table, and it was my mother, me, and her partner, and trying to come up with the name for the beauty salon. And it was the first thing that I named in my life. Like, it was. And I
Really?
named it New
I
Vibrations because
love
of the
this.
vibrations of the hair dryer.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it was like, what? I can name things? I want to name more things. And then,
Right.
I just like started naming things. And I wanted to be a writer. As, I progressed through high school, I became a writer, and, I idolized my English teacher. And actually, I hated my name until I met that English teacher. And my first name was fine. It was like a love-hate relationship because it was pronounced Carmen. Because, like Italian Americans like to drop
Yes.
that final vowel, like
All the time.
mozzarella, right? And
Yes,
prosciutto.
that's right. And you add the New York and New Jersey and more
Oh
things.
my God. And so it was pronounced Carmen, which I hated, but my middle name, like, which I've already exposed, was a secret. Nobody knew my middle name. We never talked about my middle name because it was so nuts. And, it's old school Sicilian, but it was still nuts. And so it was never uttered. And this teacher whom I idolized asked me she was asking questions or something around the room, and everybody knew I was her favorite student because I did everything for her. Like, no matter what, I did it 150%, right? And she was asking questions, and she was going around the room, and she said, "Carmen, what's your middle name? Like, why would you ask me that?" I was horrified. I was like,
No.
completely random. We weren't talking about names. She just asked that out of the blue. And I answered her under my breath.
You really
And
didn't
she
like
said,
it.
what did you say? And now all of the other students, are like, is he defying her?
Wow.
Like, why is he being like this?
Right.
And so I said it louder, and she said, "Oh my God." And I was like, I thought she would be horrified by it like I was. And she said, "Carmen Rosario Montalto. That's the most romantic name I have ever heard." Isn't that
I
wild?
I
And
love
I
it.
became a writer because of her. I became a writer because of, like, she turned my life around, and she
Yes,
helped me to, embrace writing and loving language and loving my name and just all of it. Like, she created this package.
that's
And
incredible.
so your daughter, she might find her own writing journey.
I know.
It
She
might be a little bit more of an uphill battle with AI, but, she'll get around it. We just have to work we have to work through all of this nonsense.
all
I
this
can't tell you how many brands come to me now and they're like, they want me to work on product concepts or, packaging or, website copy, and they're like, and so I don't know if this is helpful or not, but here's the Chat GPT stuff we did. And it's just like insanity. It's complete insanity. It's so funny how brands try to go that route, and the reality is it's just, you need the personal connection. You need the human touch.
You do. You need the human touch, and you need to listen to what your audience, the way they speak and what they want and what
Yeah,
resonates with
yeah.
them. And I mean, maybe you're right. One day AI will be able to do all of that, but today I feel like no, listening to your people is really probably more powerful than the computer, I think.
What's listening to your customers done for you and done for the brand?
Oh my god, it's everything. I think it's the
Yeah.
secret sauce. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm being serious, yeah, because listen, and you know this more than anybody. When you walk into any store these days, forget the store. When you scroll Instagram any day, you're inundated now with products. Inundated. I feel like I see 20 new brands a day that I didn't know existed. So I think customers are overwhelmed by choices, and our secret sauce has just been listening to our core customer and what it is that they want, what it is that they like and don't like. We've improved formulas based on customer feedback. We've created new products based on customer feedback. And we do have a two-way dialogue. Like, we have a very active customer service email that we proactively ask for
Mm-hmm.
opinions, not just reviews that are public for marketing, but like genuinely, what is it you'd like to see from us? Like, what is it that you feel like in your routine is missing that we could solve? And so for me, that's been an incredible thing, because when you're new to the industry or you're new to creating a brand, even if you're not new to the industry, there's such an inclination to want to do everything. Everything. I need a cleanser and I want a vitamin C serum. I mean, the full thing. But the truth is the world doesn't need all of that all the time, right? From every
Yeah,
single brand.
that's
So,
true. That's
you
true.
know,
You stick with what you're doing really well, and that's making incredibly pleasurable, joyful sunscreens that people
thank
love to
you.
use and that don't feel icky on their face and isn't a turn off and, doesn't make them feel like just going out in the sun without it.
That's right. No, that's our goal. And I think we're getting better with every product launch, right? Like when we look back to 7 years ago when we started R&D, the technology is completely different in
Oh,
terms of the
right.
zinc technology than it is today. The terminology of clean beauty has maybe fizzled a little bit, but that whole movement encouraged a lot of our ingredient and raw material suppliers to create innovation or to create, maybe I'll say, cleaner versions of ingredients that we use in our products now. So I think, it's also our responsibility to keep looking at that innovation, at that technology, not jumping on every trend bandwagon, but the things that have staying power. One a good example of that we kept hearing over and over from a lot of our blue mercury. Like, I go into store a lot. I,
Hmm.
I want to learn every aspect. Like, so every time I'm anywhere, I'm in a Whole Foods, I'm in a blue mercury, I'm in a Neiman Marcus, always, I learn so much from just being in the store and listening to their teams. And I kept hearing over and over and over for probably a year's time. Um, you know, we have all these oil sunscreens, body oil sunscreens, but none of them are zinc oxide. Like, is that not
Mm.
possible? This is what we're hearing from the customer. I have really sensitive skin, but I love this idea of a lightweight oil format that makes my skin look glowy and glistening, and there's nothing in mineral. And so that was like, I hear that enough times and you're like, I think let's give it a try. And we did. And it took a really long time. And last year we just launched the first ever sunscreen oil that's entirely mineral based. So,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's like just an example of like listening. The world didn't need another chemical oil sunscreen. There's
Right.
probably
There's
15
plenty
on
of
the shelf that
those.
we sit on. Just pick your packaging, right? Like,
What's it called?
oh, it's called Good Karma. It's
Oh, wow. Good karma.
Is it named
Love
after
it.
you? I don't know. Yes,
It's inspired by me. What can I
inspired
say?
by you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that product, I mean, I think it's probably our biggest example of listening, just listening, and then trying to create something that really is innovative, that isn't relying on marketing to tell an innovative story.
Right.
It's actually genuinely not been done before.
That's
So,
fantastic. Well,
sure,
that's how real innovation happens.
right. And real innovation is hard. And I think
Yeah. Creating something that didn't exist before.
that's right. And there's such a need for new launches every quarter, I feel like, and brands to keep churning out things that the innovation is lost in that process. I think, in my personal opinion, I
Yeah.
go in and I see a lot of the same products just in different packaging. And I think the customer gets confused or maybe frustrated, right? It's like,
Right.
um,
Or
and
maybe
so
both.
maybe both, maybe both. And so right now we're focused on fewer, bigger, better. Like, we don't need to jump on all the trends. So, which
That's
is hard
great.
because you see cool things happening on TikTok, but
Yeah.
we're here for the long haul. So to do that, we want to create products that people do come back and use every day, and it's not just bought once and one and done.
Well, it's working. I mean,
Thank
you've really I'm still so impressed all these years later.
thank you. Well,
And I
you've been
still
one of
love
our
my time
biggest
traveler.
supporters. Yes,
Yeah, I mean, cuz it's real. Like I see that it's authentic and I see that it's innovative and I see that it's unique and it's just really good stuff, like really good product. And I've been a fan, a day one fan, right? Almost day
very
one.
literally, very
Damn
literally.
close, damn close to it.
Damn close. That's right. That's right. You're our fan number one.
Oh my God, I love it.
I know.
Steph, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. I've
I'm
so
so
enjoyed this.
excited.
We've
Yeah.
come far. How exciting is this? So thank you for having me. And thank you for continuing to demystify everything around sunscreen and ingredients. People need more of that, more of that. So thank you for doing that.
I'll keep it up, I promise.
Please
And you
do.
keep doing you.
And you keep doing you.
All right, Steph. Thank you again.
Thanks. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Same.
All right.
Ciao.
Ciao.
That was incredible. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, Steph is amazing. She's such a terrific innovator, and you like literally have to try Time Traveler. Trust me, it is a game changer. I love that it was inspired by a rich Italian cream that she found in the Italian, was it the Amalfi Coast, or maybe I added a little spice to it. Check out Solara Suncare at solarasuncare.com. And again, you can get Solara at Neiman Marcus. You can get Solara at Whole Foods. But check it out online first, and you'll see the full breadth of what the brand offers. The products are superb. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of the Skincarma Pod. Thank you for listening. Find more insights, real talk, and reviews of my favorite skincare products on the Skincarma blog at skincarma.com. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate and review this episode. It helps me to reach more listeners. Ciao.